The Cognac story continues. Dr. Wondrich, the historical oracle of the cocktail world, has demonstrated the important role Cognac played in 19th century mixed drinks. In fact, all cocktails were based on one of the triumvirate of brandy, whiskey, or gin. A quick look at cocktail books in the 19th and early 20th century bears out the importance of Cognac brandy in mixed drinks. Pioneers of the cocktail recipe book like Jerry Thomas and Harry Johnson call for brandy in nearly a third of the recipes in their groundbreaking books. Looking forward to one of the most important cocktail books of the 20th century, Tom Bullock's Ideal Bartender, we find brandy cocktails continue to play an important role. Bullock, a black man, born in 1873, distinguished himself on many counts, not the least of which was overcoming an impenetrable wall of white by publishing Ideal Bartender in 1917. Bullock, who died in 1964, just 9 years short of a century, was at the height of his profession when he published his classic recipe book. Bullock embraced Cognac from the beginning of his career with his brigantine Pousse Café of apricot, maraschino, curacao, chartreuse, and cognac. He was a proponent of Cognac as a dash for accents in glasses of punch and champagne sours and in cocktails, a tradition that has traction in today's cocktail revival. Bullock was a conduit from the 19th century to the 20th for brandy cocktails. In his book, we find 19th century classics like the Crusta, coffee cocktail, and the original brandy cocktails side by side with brandy highballs, destined to become a signature of the 20th century bar. The unfortunate timing of the release of the book just a few short years before Prohibition lessened what should have been a considerable impact on the craft. By the end of the 19th century, the world was becoming a much smaller place. With the growth of international businesses and the birth of the multinational corporation, nowhere was this more prevalent than in the cities of London and Paris. The American cocktail found a small but enthusiastic crowd of admirers in these two international cities. We all know the long list of problems created by Prohibition, but in an unexpected turn, Prohibition also enriched the cocktail. World War I and Prohibition in the United States supercharged the growth of American cocktails overseas, and indeed the American bar, which seemed to appear in the grand hotels all over Europe almost overnight. Many of these cocktails employed local favorites like champagne and cognac. American barmen like Harry Craddock and Harry McAlone, among others, received a warm reception in Europe and set up shop in high-end hotel and club bars, becoming the rage of the spending class and widely imitated by their European counterparts. Several classic cocktails we enjoy today emerged while the cocktail was in exile. One of these, the Sidecar, which finds its antecedent in Santini's mid-19th century New Orleans classic, the brandy Crusta, is enjoying a huge comeback in today's cocktail revival movement. The Sidecar had its own variations, like the Between the Sheets, popular again today in the retro bar scene. The Crusta cocktail was not the only 19th century recipe to inspire European barmen. The lowly sour started keeping fancy company when it hooked up with champagne in the French 75 and later with cognac when this gin cocktail morphed to a cognac variation. Nightcaps like the Stinger and the coffee cocktail survived Prohibition and are finding their way into retro cocktail menus not just in the United States but around the world. This is truly the golden age of the cognac cocktail, and a cocktail indeed.